Good morning. Today is August 1st, 2018. I'm meeting today with Mr. Pete Gomez at his home in Fort Collins, Colorado, to talk about his experiences in the Vietnam War. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for the Northern Colorado Veterans History Project. Welcome, Pete, and thanks for sitting down today to tell your story.
Thank you for inviting me to tell my story.
Let's start out, if we could. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you're born, a little bit about your family.
I was born on September 18th, 1947 in Durango, Colorado. And I was born to Cipriano Gomez and Rachel Aragon Gomez after marriage. Anyway, there's 12 of us in the family. 2 died within the first 2 years. There's 10 of us still living. The oldest is 83. And the youngest is 66.
Where do you fit in that pecking order?
Third from the end.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a bunch of goats ahead of me, but we call each other old goats and stuff. So that's about it. My dad was an undersheriff, and he was also a speaker on the radio station in Durango. And my mom was just a stay-at-home mom with 10 kids that were alive, and I don't know how she did it. Wow. She was an angel, and I had friends that would come over, and she would just break out the food, and with 7 or 6 other brothers, they would come home with friends, and she never, she was something else. To this day, some of the guys still call her mom.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, because we're real close. There's still probably 10 of us that went together. We grew up from Sacred Heart and Park School all the way till we went into the service, and we still meet, and we still call each other brothers, and we're like best friends in the world.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a Durango High School Vietnam veteran deal in October in Durango, and we're expecting upwards of 1,500 people.
Wow.
So there's 5 of us on the committee, and it's gonna be. We're hoping it turns out to be a great deal, because we're going to honor one of the guys that he died not in Vietnam, but he was I guess Marines, and they were getting overrun, and one of the other guys that was with him from Durango tried to hold him down, and he jumped up, and I guess he he jumped up, and the guy tried to hold him down, and when it was all over, I guess there was half of the VC and North Vietnamese. He had taken all of them down with a twin 40 or quad 40, and he received the Silver Star and quite a few other ones. But he died about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and I was asked to be a pallbearer, but I couldn't make it. I was just, I just couldn't make it. I wasn't even around. Yeah. But we're going to honor him. He's quite nice. The hero of all of us that were born together, So. Yeah.
So you went through the school district there in Durango?
Yes,
okay.
Durango High School.
Yeah.
And then after that, then I signed in to go in the Marines, but I didn't weigh enough. I weighed 122, and I guess you had to weigh 130. So I just didn't make it, and then I thought, well, I'm going in there. Another friend of mine said, I'll go in with you, let's go in the Army. So we both went in the Army in May of 66.
So you graduated in 66?
Yes.
So right out of high school.
Yes.
And what was of all the service branches, what was the draw to the Marines?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, I wanted to just go to Vietnam. I don't know why, but
okay.
I just said, well, I'll go to the Marines, and just didn't weigh enough. They were like, you're a blow away, So yeah. I guess the Army didn't care quite as much. So I was able to join. We went to Fort Bliss, Texas, myself and the other gentleman, and we went through basic. After basic, they said, who wants to go to Vietnam? And him and I were the only 2 that stepped up.
Really?
And the drill sergeant says, all of you guys are going to Vietnam, you're going to infantry, and you're going airborne, and that was it. So.
Well, backing up, how was that? I mean, here's a boy, that grew up in really isolated. I mean, Durango's down in the southwest corner, kind of isolated in kind of idyllic, I would think, settings. Going from a civilian to into the military, was that much of an adjustment for you?
It was fear.
Yeah.
Because when we got off the bus, Sergeant Chang was like, "Get off the bus, you know," all these words, and then drop down and give me 25 push-ups, and you're just in fear. Get up and then go get your hair cut. Oh, it was a change that was way, because like you said, I was with people from Pennsylvania, people from New York, and me and my buddy from Durango. And had he not been there, it would have been even twice as scary.
But and how was physically and such, was basic training hard or easy for you?
It was easy because I was a wrestler in high school, and I was in shape. In fact, I made the 440 club, which is you have to run through the course in so much time, put the grenade in, whatever, you get, shoot expert, do it all. And once you do that, you have a line for breakfast, and you can just cut the line and go in, have your own table, and you had milk, you had cereal, you had stuff that the others didn't get. But it was worth making that 440. My buddy was like, PO'd at me. He was like, "Dude, wow!" But they asked me to do it. I ran through it, and I made it in good time. So it was really nice.
So then, take your story after basic. Did you go on for additional training, or did you head right off to Vietnam?
Oh no. I went to Fort Sill. MOS, I guess, doesn't mean anything because they sent me to Fort Sill for some artillery training, and then from there they said, "Well, you're going to airborne," and I'm like, "Dang, why didn't I go with my buddy?" And so I went there, and so it's such a strange thing that my DD-214 has infantry artillery, no airborne, and the strange thing is I was a sergeant. And then I had an incident in Vietnam, and so they took me down and to private. So they say, well, when I went to get my card at the Air Force Base in Cheyenne, she called Washington, and they said, no, he's a corporal. So it's on my card, corporal, but I said, ma'am, my DD-214, I handed it to her, and she goes, that's Washington. They have all your, and I was like, it was strange. And to this day, I can't figure it out. So I thought I was busted all the way down, and I would guess I only lost one stripe. So I'll take that. Everybody says that's the strangest story, but it's a true story. I can show you my card, and it's corporal. So I get to go to the PX. I get to go golf at Eisenhower. I get to golf at all the Air Force bases and stuff. So it's worth being a corporal.
Right. So you went off to airborne then?
Yes.
Airborne training and did jumps and the whole works?
Yes.
And what was that like? I mean, I can't imagine. And once again, growing up, I don't imagine. When was the first time you ever took an airplane ride, let alone jump out of a?
Well, even when we went to training, it was bus, nothing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the bigger guys, they were like, "You're not going to make it. You're just a little wimp." And we'd go out, but when you jump off the deal, I had no fear. And then when you arch your back like that, and then the instructor comes and pulls the cord, and away you go. Those guys would land, and they'd say, you're gone, you're gone, you go back up. And so I was like, wow. And I look at those big guys, apparently you didn't make it, but they were kind of clumsy, big, but some of the bigger guys, they were just studs, they were good people. And then after that, I went to the 25th Infantry again, and we were all around support. So if there was somebody in battle here, well, we'd take off and go support them. If there was somebody, so we were like from Pleiku, Dak To, Cu Chi, Tay Ninh, Black Virgin Mountains, the Mekong Delta. I mean, it was just.
So when you went went in country, did you go over as a unit, or did you go over as a replacement?
I went over as a unit with the 1st of the 25th
Really?
Infantry.
That was Was that normal? I mean, it didn't seem like many units went over here. It seemed like it was all.
Troop ship. 10,000 of us on a troop ship, and it took us 28 days.
Well, that begs the next question. Here's this landlocked boy from Durango, Colorado, going to sea. How was that trip? Did you get your sea legs, or?
And 28 days I spent down there hugging the toilet. It was and then finally I got to eat, and I'm sitting at the table with all these guys, and that gentleman starts throwing up, and then this gentleman, and I'm like trying to hold it because I was down there, and I didn't, and so it was terrible.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Terrible.
That sounds awful. Wow. So you land. So you guys took a ship over. You didn't fly over. So you were probably one of the first. So what year did you go over? When did you go?
November of '66.
Wow. So relatively
Quick. Yeah, May,
Yeah.
June, July, August,
Yeah.
September, October, November, and we were gone. And so I was there from November '66 to March of '68. And yeah, and I get 2 tours out of it.
Really?
Yes, that extra 4 months. If you sign up, because he came when we were leaving, and he goes, anyone wants to spend another 4 months, when you hit San Francisco, you're done. You don't go to reserves. You're done. And I was like, my hand went up, and so my other buddies, well.
So you volunteered for that second
So
tour?
I
Okay.
volunteered.
Okay.
Spent 4 months, and they told us when you get to San Francisco, they're going to be spitting and doing this, calling you names. And I was like, well, I'm okay with that, as long as they don't attack me, because then they're in for a beating.
Yeah.
Well, they were on the other side of the fence,
Yeah.
so there was no way you were going to do that. But they said if a general goes by and you don't even have to salute him, you're done. And that was what I wanted. I'd get out.
Yeah.
I
Well, let's back up to your story. So you're in country. Where did you guys land when you?
Cameron Bay.
Okay.
Big ship on the outside, and then came in, and there was no fanfare, no nothing. And then we got on 155 self-propels, trucks, everything, and went to Fuloy, which was going to be the base camp. So that's where we're like, this is strange.
Well, yeah. Once again, talking about physically 2 different environments. Kind of the dry Southwest Colorado to the jungles and what have you and humidity and heat and monsoons of Vietnam. That must have been a shock as well.
Well, I guess the whole experience from day one was a shock, because you're like, what am I doing here first? And then, you go through AIT, and it's no different. They're screaming at you. And at the base in Fort Sill, there was 2 graves there. And the thing we had to do was do 50 push-ups and say, learn and live. Because the idea behind it was those 2 guys didn't make it because they didn't learn. So that was our deal. Every time you passed, and there was sergeants there in the deal, you do your 50 push-ups, get up and go into the base and do whatever. Coming out to go back to your deal, 50 push-ups, learn and live, learn and live, learn and live. And it was worth it, because you everything they taught you learned, and it was well worth doing what I did, I guess.
I can't imagine what goes through an 18-year-old's mind when you learn to live or you die. I mean, just the shock of that.
Well, I guess we were going over, and people couldn't invade the United States. Everybody's armed.
Yeah.
And we're going over there thinking that we're going to stop something, and so those people are saying, well, we're not going to let them take our land. So it's a losing.
Yeah.
War is just you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Because they're fighting for their family and friends. We're fighting for our stay non-communist and stuff. So it's a tough deal. War makes no sense.
Wow.
It really doesn't.
Talk a little bit about what life was like at the base camp, as far as your living conditions and food, and what you guys did when you went on duty to entertain yourselves.
Well, there wasn't much. I mean, it was sea rations all the time. Every now and then you got to go in and have, like a lot of guys would go into Fuloy, the town, or Saigon, and they'd eat burgers and they'd eat fries and stuff, and I just didn't do it. I mean, because we had gone out on patrol, and we entered a village, and I looked up and I saw these skinned, I don't know what they were. And I said, well, what is that? And the guy says, that's a dog. They skin their dog and that's what they eat and stuff. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so they go, no, that's their, that's why you never saw dogs in Vietnam, because they so I said, and I was being funny, I said, so what do you do? Go into the little store and say, give me a pound of dog-a-lonie, And he cracked up and he goes, no, not really, but it was a shock, and then it's just that you see so much and you're not prepared.
Yeah.
Even though they try to prepare you, you're not prepared for it, so I don't know what to say.
Well, along those lines, you said guys would go into town, and when you were out on patrol. And one thing, about your war, it was different than all the previous wars, was there was no front line. There was no saying, 6 clicks up the road is the front line. So what was it like when, you approach like civilians, and you didn't know if they were friend or foe? I mean, it seemed like you could never let your guard down.
Well, you couldn't. I mean, when you fell asleep, you were like this. We had an incident where these three little Vietnamese guys, I'd say 16, 17-year-olds, we had the road blocked off with concertina wire, and then our deal was in here, our base camp. Well, not base camp, I guess you would say. And so they came by. American number one, Americans have cigarettes? Sure. So we gave them cigarettes, and stuff like that. We talked a long time. It was pretty cool because you're young and they're young and just talking. Well, we get hit that night, and then next day picking up bodies, one of them rolls down, and he still has my pack of Winstons, and it was the same guy
Really?
we were talking to on the deal. So, I mean, you're right. You didn't have a clue who was friend and foe. It was just, you just had to adjust.
Wow.
It was a whole different experience, but it taught me respect. It taught me integrity. It taught me just to. I still call people ma'am, and my wife, when they're younger, she says, "Hon, it's Miss." They're younger now. Sorry, Miss. My wife just So yeah.
What was another thing for a person that's never been in battle, not remotely been in battle? To me, I know it's man-made, but a war zone seems so wrong for a human to be in. It is such a strange environment to be in. And I look at you guys, and you weren't eating properly, you weren't sleeping properly, hygiene was crappy, you're out in the elements. I mean, it seems like any one of those things would knock a man down, but on top of that, you had the stress of war. As you look back on that time period, how do you think you made it through it? What got you through that, do you think?
Your brothers, you were there to make sure that they didn't die. You were there to, my mom and my aunt would send care packages, but that was it. I have 9 brothers and sisters and never received a letter or anything. And when we were all together a couple of years ago, I said, hey, why didn't you guys write me a letter or anything? And they didn't know. They were like, wow, because they didn't understand that I was over there either. I had a brother in Thailand, and he I guess he was just, he said he didn't receive any letters either. And when I went on R&R, I went to see him, and it was nice to see somebody, but he wanted to hide us. We were in a deal, and we knew we were going back out to the Mekong Delta, and they were, and the guys were telling him, yeah, we're going right back into the crap, So he says, hey, there's a place here, and we laughed at him. We're like, dude, that's not going to happen. First of all, we'd be abandoning our brothers, and second of all, we're not cowards. We're going. And he was really shocked that I would even say that, but we took out, landed, and we got hit pretty good, but we were still able to maintain, because at the time you're glad you're an American, because the 155s are shooting the 1-second round, the 105s are shooting beehive rounds, which are 10,000 darts, and everybody else is opening up with everything they have. Nothing's going to live through that on that other side.
I can't imagine what that site must have been like to see all that firepower like that.
It's amazing. You look up and you say, thank you for making me an American. That's what my thoughts were. I came out of one firefight. I was smoking at the time, and I lit up, and with all the, whatever they call that, from the, it was just so heavy. I was like, I'll never smoke again. And they were like, oh, you're kidding. And I said, no, I'm done. And they go, well, can we have your cigarettes? And I said, of course. And I think I had 2 cartons, and that was it. Never touched it again.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Most people started there, and I quit there. And then being a sergeant, I would lead out patrols and stuff sometimes. And I told the guys, I said, if you're going to get high or you're going to get drunk, don't do it when we're leaving next day, because I won't care about you if you can't care about me.
Yeah,
Okay.
fair enough.
Well, then I went into a hooch once, and they're all doing drugs, they're pot and drinking. And I was like, you're on your own tomorrow. And they're like, why? And I said, I told you, if you can't be, you got to have your head together, because we could go into an ambush, and we don't want to, I want to come home. And they're like, oh, and I walked out, and I said, you're on your own. Hope you make it, And they followed me, and they were like, Gomez, don't be mad. Sarge, we're sorry. We'll quit now, and our heads will be straight. I said, well, fine then. We'll take care of you, but I'm not gonna die just because you're jacked up.
Yeah, right.
Or high. So
Wow.
yeah, that was it.
What's it like? I mean, that you're laying around in base camp. That night you've got to go out on a patrol, or what are you thinking as you get closer to that? I can't imagine. I imagine you're going into harm's way. You don't know what's going to happen. Is there anxiety? Butterflies. I mean, I can't imagine what goes through a person's.
I guess you just don't even think about it. I'm pretty sure that I just didn't think about it, because you just what's that old saying? Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. I mean, it's you just don't know. You're at the mercy of the man up above, and you think afterwards, why did this guy die and this one and not me? So you feel how do you say? You feel like you let them down, and you should.
Guilt.
Yeah, guilt.
Yeah.
Way a lot of guilt, because you think, that should have been me. That guy had. Because they would show you pictures of their girlfriends, and they would show you this stuff, and so you say, well, that guy had it made, and I was fighting downtown before this. I was not a very nice guy, and they were the best. So you feel really guilty. So.
Wow. And what about after a firefight or a particular rough battle or something, and you're back and you're laying in your cot, and you got kind of time to decompress? Do you think about that, or you just put that behind you?
Well, the thing is, right after a battle, you have to go out and get bodies, whether they're your friends or theirs. You gotta stack them up, and it seemed like we were always the stackers. Like, okay, go stack bodies, go do this and that. So you really don't have so much time to think that you were. I mean, because you're throwing them and you're getting your guys and saying, damn it, and sometimes you don't know them because they're guys from a different platoon or whatever. So you just feel sorry anyway. You just say, well, that's too bad, But then you go back to your cot, getting back to that, and you fall asleep because you're tired. You fall asleep and you're just like, well, I made it through another one. And then to volunteer for 4 more months, people would say, dude, you're out of your mind.
Yeah,
but hey, it was well worth it.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, to make it out of there and not have to do anything and not go through any reserves or whatever, it was worth 4 months.
Was there any time during that 4 months it's like, oh, damn, I made a mistake?
No.
No? Oh,
Not
good.
at all.
Oh, okay. No.
Because you keep thinking when you do get a little time, geez, 40 days and a wake up and I'm done. 40 days and a wake up, 39 days and a wake up and I'm done, you know, and then wake up and you're done. You land in San Francisco and of course those guys were out there. Walk in, had to get a doctor to release you, you know, and got released and that was it.
During your 2 tours, you said you took one R&R to Thailand. Did you able to take any others to any other?
Yeah, I went to Australia.
Oh, did you? Oh, wow.
Yes, I was able to go there for, it wasn't as long because, you know, I mean, the one in Thailand was like a week. This one was like 2.5 days. You get there, do whatever, and then head back out. So it was a different way.
Well, and that's another thing too that I have a hard time comprehending. I mean, here you're one day, and we'll talk about it coming home as well. One day you're in the thick of battle, and the next day you're in civilization down in Australia, enjoying yourself for a few days, and then boom, you're right back in the country again. That has to be kind of play with your mind a little bit, I would think.
Yeah, you know, I guess you really don't have time to think because you know you're there for a purpose. So you know you're going back. You know you're going to be right back where you were, but every day wasn't a battle. I mean, you know, if you were in Fuloy, only time that I think it was during Tet, during the Tet offensive.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
We actually, and I have the proof I send to you, that the Viet Cong were no longer a fighting force because we kicked butt. I mean, they did catch us off guard because our intelligence was nil, but there were some good fighting men there for the Americans, and they took care of business. Those guys, I don't know what to say, but you get hit and everybody opens up and they no longer exist. I mean, they just, even when they took over the U.S. Embassy, those guys went back in there and they were in street clothes and went in there and took back their deal, you know. So it was quite that general. He had his stuff together, but I guess he just figured we were going to fold our tennies and not be very good. But he underestimated the American will.
Right. Wow. So, what was it like? Condition-wise, once again, I keep going back to this boy from small town Durango. What was it like? The monsoons and just being in those general conditions. The heat and humidity, was that play on you at all? Or
Yeah, and cold at night. I mean,
I've heard that. Yeah,
cold.
yeah.
You're cold, you know, and you're shivering, and it's raining, and never stops raining. And I don't know if you saw the one with the movie where he says the rain came sideways.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump, the rain came. It was like that, you know. It was always raining for the monsoon. But like anything else, you adjust. I mean, you just, I don't know how to say it, but like in Durango, I think maybe 1,500 guys from the high school went. That's what we're hoping show up. And 2 died. One of them was in an ambush, and I don't know how the other one died, but when I go to the wall and see my guys, I always make sure and look up those 2 guys, you know. And I did the wall in Fort Collins, and the traveling wall, and we had gone in '96 or '99 to Washington, and we teared out.
Yeah, I was going to ask how that experience was for you.
It was tough. It was tough, and the guy that I went with, Tom, you met him. He flew my daughter up without telling me. He wanted her to be with me, and she wrote me a book. You wouldn't believe the book that she wrote me. It just, in fact, one of my brothers read it, and at the end she says, "You gave me a dollar bill when I was waitressing, and I was going to spend it at a casino because I knew it would bring me luck, but I couldn't because it was, how did she put it? I can't remember the word." And my brother said, no, this book is that, you know, because she kept it. She said I couldn't do it. So it was amazing, but it was nice to have her there with me. You know, it was pretty good.
Yeah. Right. Oh wow. Wow.
Really neat.
Wow. So you get the wake-up call, and it's time to go home. Talk about I imagine you flew home this time. Yeah.
We flew home.
And talk about that that experience of getting in the plane, and I hear from so many Vietnam veterans when that captain gets on the intercom and says we're out in international space or whatever. And
the thing is, it was strange. We get in and they have the beer and they have the wine, and it's just like being on a privileged flight, you know? And the waitress, what do you call them? The gals that are there,
the stewardesses,
they're like, oh, welcome back, and this and that. And some guys had cigars, so we were smoking cigars. It was at the time they didn't have this, no smoking on plane.
Yeah, right.
And then we get up to 30,000 feet, and we're flying, and he says, now we are out of, and our plane went whew, from 30,000 down to like 15,000. It just dropped. So we all like, I mean, some guys drop beers, some guys drop, and I'm like, are you kidding? We're not gonna make this. And then he said we hit a turbulent deal and it just dropped it. But he says we're back on deal. You're like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, right. Went through all that and to die this way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't want to be that, you know. But it worked out really well. It worked out well.
And you said you landed back in San Francisco, and
yes.
And you said you had some experiences, but not.
Well, they were on the other side of the fence with their signs, and you know they have their right to do that.
Yeah.
I guess that's why we go fight for them guys to make fools of themselves. But I mean, I didn't even look over there. They were all out there, the hippies, you know, they're smoking their grass and they have their signs and hollering names. And I'm not gonna say, you know what they hollered at us.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And I don't need to say what that is. And so you just say, well, I guess welcome back. You know, that's our welcome back.
Yeah.
They hate us. We went over to do something we thought was right, and I guess we were wrong because we were hated. And it never changed until the honor flight. I guarantee you guys made a difference in Tommy was with me again for the deal, and he said, well, thanks for choosing me. Out of all the 12 of us, you chose me to go with you. And he said, I will never ever forget it. I said, nor will I. It was something else. And then that letter that you put in the thing, that young boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I had lost nephews, and I teared up. But I didn't tear up like that letter. I guarantee you it was, I don't know, just to hear him say, you went away to fight for people you didn't even know. It just, I don't know. I couldn't, and the doctors and the nurses and that, they were looking at me, and I was like feeling stupid. But I couldn't stop the tears coming down, and then one of them came over and put her hand on me, and I gave her the deal, and then she started like, and then the two guys, Tom and Rudy, next to me, they're like, wonder what is going on with this guy, you know. It was quite the letter.
Now, in regards to the protesters, when you were over in country, were you guys aware that there was so much divide here in this kind? Was word getting to you guys?
Well, the Stars and Stripes were saying stuff like that they were fighting back home, that they were trying to get us back, that they were doing this and that, but we didn't know it was that.
Oh, okay.
That intense.
Oh, good. That's probably a good thing. I can imagine what that would play on your mind if you did.
But yeah, we had heard that. Oh yeah, they're burning bras and burning draft cards and burning this and that, flags. We're like, whoa, why? What are they doing? They want us out of the war. Well, we want out of the war too. And I guarantee you, we could have taken it in 2 months had they let us go. That's the kind of fighting guys. I mean, in World War II and Korea, they were like in their later 20s, 22, 26, 24. We were 18 and 20, but they were tough. There was no fear. I mean, if you have it, you don't show it. I guess that's all I can say. If you have the fear, you don't know it because but we could have taken the North in 2 months had they let us go. Easy, I guarantee it.
Wow. Yeah. I guess I didn't ask you too. Now we're back in the States, but you made it through unscathed. Didn't wounded at all? Get any jungle diseases?
A mortar round came in one night, and I heard it. I hollered mortar, and Patrick took a little piece of shrapnel in the chest. I took one through the armor, the vest I had on, but it just maybe burned me. But Patrick, he got a Purple Heart. I got a big piece of tape over it and said goodbye. So, you know, I can't, and that's okay. The other gal asked me, well, you deserve it. And I say, well, with that Purple Heart and $1.50, I could still buy coffee. Because it really, I guess it does mean something now, but at the time when she asked me, I didn't think it meant that much. And you know what, I'm not going to cry over a Purple Heart.
Yeah. But you made it through without any the jungle diseases, malaria, anything like that? Any affected by any of that?
Yeah, well, I don't have jungle rot or anything like that, but I had hit a pipe or a piece of wood on one of our dills, and my leg it just like felt like mush. And then I went back and they gave me like 4 or 5 shots, and I'm good. I mean, I'm golf, run, do whatever, you know, work out.
And being out in the elements, were you guys ever exposed to Agent Orange that you're aware of?
You know what? I know we were, because we were in all the places where they dropped it. But I have no, what do they call it? Sorry, my mind just doesn't think right when I'm asked things, but sugar diabetes or not diabetes. A lot of guys that were in my company and stuff, they have it, but luckily and the strangest thing is, I eat like 2 donuts every morning, and I just don't. The only thing I do is work out and golf and ride my motorcycle, but I don't have any of that.
Oh, good.
I was lucky. I was blessed. You know?
Good.
I'm blessed.
Well, take your story forward then. So you get back to the States. Where'd you go then? Did you muster out right after San Francisco, or did you still have time left?
Oh no, I was gone. I was gone.
So you
4 months with.
So after San Francisco, you just came directly home?
I went to visit my sister. She lived in San Francisco, and her son was like about this tall. So I would take him to meet other Gomez families. My brother-in-law say there's a bar where the other Gomez's hang out there. Go down and see him. So I'd walk with him. And now the guy's like 6'6". And I said, "You remember?" I remember. I said, "Can you take me like that?" You know, my nephews, nieces, and nephews are tall. My granddaughter's tall already. So yeah. So I stayed there a couple of weeks, and then I headed back.
And once again, asking the follow-up question to the one I asked earlier, how was that then? That transition from particularly everything you'd been through in Vietnam, and literally 24 hours later, you're back in civilization. Was that an adjustment getting back to car horns and lights and just being back in America?
Yes, it was. But luckily, I had my sister there, but the strangest thing was I didn't want to wear my uniform because we heard that they were so mad with us.
Right.
So I just put in civvies and just walked around like if I had never left. Like, okay, the only way I'm going to adjust. When I was on the truck headed to the airport, I had a bag with some really nice suits, a lot of nice stuff in it, really nice stuff that I had collected from Thailand and Vietnam and memorabilia and stuff like that. And I picked it up and I threw it off the truck. And the guy said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going to leave this life here. Because if I take it home, it'll eat me up. It will eat me up." And I saw that bag rolling, and then I said, "You dumb shit. you had some really nice stuff in there." No, but I left it. I really did. I mean, I still have flashbacks, and my wife has to throw a pillow to this day to wake me up because I'm so. But my brother Bob told her, and she hadn't heard that when last year we were in Scottsdale, Phoenix, and we had golfed, and then we went to another brother's house, and he said, "Oh yeah, I remember when he got home." He said, I said something, or I woke him up, touched him, and I was on the ground. And he said, "Don't ever do that." And he was screaming, and he said, because I saw him screaming, and he said, "I didn't know what had happened." And so I went to wake him up, and that was a mistake. And she goes, "I didn't know, because I had to do that. I thought it was just me that had to go through that." But no, it's one of those things, I guess. Your mind is always active.
Yeah,
you know, so,
yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So you get out of the service. Keep going with your story then.
My brother took me and the brother in Thailand, and he said, "I've got my barber shop. I'd like you guys to be barbers with me." So we both came to Denver with him and signed up, and then we went back home because it was a month down the line. Came time to leave, and he didn't want to leave, so we just took off. I had no place to stay. I just said, "Okay, I'll go do it." I got through Nam, I can get through that. And I got to Denver, went in and signed up, and then I said, "Well, I better go find a place." I didn't have a whole lot of money, so I went and found a one bedroom. This lady was real kind, and I said, "Well, I'm gonna," and you know, out of 23 or 26 of us, only 2 of us passed the barber exam.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, because I had nothing to do but study. Because you have to learn the whole human body and all that. And I'm like, okay, well, I can do this. I got nothing else to do. Everybody else was out partying and stuff. And I just didn't want to make any friends. I wanted to just get through and go back home. So when the day came to find out, we went to my sister. She had a place there. She had just moved up there, so she had a friend, and we went over there. My brother came up to be with me, and he called, and he said, who made it? And he goes, "Really, 2 of them?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, that's sad." He goes, "Well, thank you," and he hung up. He goes, "Only 2 made it." I said, "Oh, I'm not going to do it again." He goes, "You're one of them." I was like, oh boy. So I had a model, Tommy Vigil, and you couldn't ruin his hair if you tried. I mean, I shaved him, I did his hair, and to tell you the truth, 4 other people that came from Durango afterwards, they used him as their model. The guy had the easiest hair to cut. You could just, he was just perfect. You shave him and do whatever, and so yeah, it was pretty amazing. I went back home, barbered for a while, and then I went and did, I went out and I learned heavy equipment. The Army paid for me. Nielsen said, "If you'll learn every piece of equipment, we'll pay you $15 an hour, and the Army will pay you what they pay you." So I learned every piece of equipment. Before that, one of the guys at noon, do we need to stop?
No.
One of the guys at noon, he would eat, and I would get on the loader, and I'd load. He taught me how to load. And then about the 4th week, because I was just shoveling, but I do that, and about the 4th week, they moved him on and gave me that job. And then they said, "We'll teach you every piece of equipment." So I learned every piece, and it was really nice. I was making pretty good money in the 70s doing construction, So it was nice. I was able to buy a house.
Now this is back down in Durango, or
yeah,
okay? Yeah,
I went to Natarita. We were working there, and I didn't have a car, and I needed to get home to buy the first home. And the guy said, "Have you ever ridden a motorcycle?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I'll take you around the lot a couple of times." So he took me around the deal. I said, "Okay, I'm ready." And I took off. And I going through the mountains and that, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I don't even know. And I got to Durango, signed papers, and I rode his bike back. And then I didn't even think about it. And then years later, I started again, and now I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We've gone down to Mexico on the bikes. And
really?
Yeah.
Wow. So how long did you do heavy construction then?
I did that for quite a few years, and then I went into selling life insurance for Prudential. And I was a pretty good agent because I made just about, for the 10 years that I was with them, I made just about every conference they had. I was flying to my wife and I have flown all over the place. I lack 3 states and being in all 50, and I've been in 7 overseas countries. You know?
Wow.
But I'll have to get those 3 states out. I'm just not that hurry, in that much of a hurry to do it. But I was selling lots of insurance, and then one day I got tired of it. I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I called my boss. I said, I'm going to go take the Series 6 test. And when I get back from Albuquerque Friday, I'm going to give it up. And he goes, yeah, you're going to give that kind of money up? I said, money's not everything. I don't really care. I'm going to quit. And so I called him Friday. I said, hey, I've got all the boxes here. He goes, you're serious? Because I had just won the national prize for, it was $10,000. They flew me and my wife to New York, took us to a Broadway play. I still have the deal downstairs. And he's like, dude, you're not. And I said, I'm giving it up. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm tired of being out on the golf course or everywhere. Do you need life insurance, this and that? So I went down and I became a detention officer. Huh. And got put in a national magazine. Wow. I know, it was something. The guy says, okay, get over here. We're gonna be put in a national magazine. They have the whole story in it. And so I really enjoyed that. And then I became a probation officer. The judge knew that I was doing real well with the kids and stuff. And so she said, I want you as a probation officer. Well, at the time, I didn't have a degree or anything, you know, so I said, Your Honor, I don't have a degree. And she goes, I choose, and you are so good with people and the kids and stuff. So I said, okay, so I put in for it, and there was like 7 other people that I had to go against. One was a chief of police and stuff like that. And they chose me, and so I became, and then she sent me off to Durango for SWAT training and to take care of the courtroom, you know, make sure that I had it all straightened out. And so I flew all over Vegas and that, and then I met people down in Vegas that wanted me to travel to Mexico to teach them SWAT. And there was a Russian there, and I gave him a pin, and he takes me up to his room and gives me a shirt and a KGB pin. I still have it on my vest. Everybody's like, dude, where did you get a KGB pin? And I said, from a Russian guy I met in Las Vegas. So it really turned out to be, that probation job was one of the best. And I hated to leave it, but I had promised my 2-year-old granddaughter, she said, Grandpa, why are you leaving? And I said, we're going to go sell everything and come up and watch you grow. And I did. Wow. That was my promise. And now I've got 2 of them, and they are the greatest. Wow. Yeah.
So you got the 1 daughter and 2 granddaughters?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned earlier, you know, that you've traveled extensively in the United States and 7 countries overseas. Have you had a chance, or do you have any desire to go back to Vietnam and visit?
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
Everyone tells me, why don't you go back? And I said, no, because I left it. When I threw my deal, I left my life in Vietnam there. I didn't know I was going to have all these little nightmares, and I didn't know I was going to have it. But the life is there, and I don't want to go back. I got no, okay, I lost somebody here. Okay, I was in a firefight. No, not at all. Yeah. To tell you the truth, it's gone.
Do you still keep in touch with any of the guys you served with? Has there been any sort of reunions, anything like that?
Yeah, and the funny thing is I have a sergeant, and he called one night. I'm downstairs, and he goes, Pete Gomez, yeah, US 543-772-907. I said, who's this? And he says, Sergeant Smitty. I go, Sarge. And he goes, listen, I've got all these buddies that we were serving with, and I said, well, my wife's headed to Durango. He said, we're going to the Cheyenne Fair. This was like 2010. He said, we're going to the Cheyenne Frontier Days. Can we spend with you? I said, you bet. So she was gone with her sister to Durango. They came and stayed here a couple of days. They took off, and then they came back. They didn't spend the night, but they took us out to eat, you know, and stuff. And my wife, man, he gave me all kinds of pictures, and I'll show you on my basement. I have a Vietnam wall. Good. So, yeah, and then one day I was barbering, going back a ways, and I look out, and I say, I'll be right back, and I run out there, and he's like, Pete, and it was one of the guys that was in with my platoon. Yeah, he was just walking by. He said, I remembered you had said Durango, and I didn't know if I'd ever see you, and so that night him and I went out. He had an Oldsmobile 442. this guy had the cash, you know, and we just had the best time. I said, "You want to stay?" And he goes, "No, I'm heading out early in the morning." So we just had a great time, and I introduced him to my wife then, and it was really something. But yeah, I do stay in touch with him.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
But mostly the guys I grew up with, we're really tight. We're brothers, you know. And I don't know if you saw that in that deal that lady asked me, and I said, yeah, I have some brothers that are brothers, and then the brothers that I grew up with.
Right. Yeah.
We're tight.
Yeah. Well, talk about how you met Emily and wooed her and that whole story.
Well, I was barbering, and she just came in, and she said she liked a friend of mine I grew up with. She said, but it was really wanting to talk to me. I didn't know that. So I said, well, I'll tell him. And she said, she kept coming by the barber shop and stuff like that. And so one night I told Joby, hey, I got a little gal and she was, you know, and I was like, well, I didn't know you wanted like me. I thought you kept asking about him. Well, that was just to talk to you. And I was like, okay. So then we just, we started dating and stuff. And well, one of the gals that I had been going with said, don't go by the College Inn. It was a little club, big club that my dad owned in Durango. And I said, why? And she says, well, there's a gal that likes you there. And I said, okay, I won't. I drove right down there, you know, and there was Emily, and so we got together, and the rest is history. And Agent Orange did get me because Emily had 5 miscarriages.
Is that right?
Yes, and one of them was hair in the works. So I can't say it didn't, but it didn't do nothing to my body. Just to my
so you passed on.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys been married, what, 48 years now?
48 years on the 25th of this month.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
She wants to get married again on the 50th. I'm like, do I really want to marry the same woman twice? And my daughter really wants to set something on for us, you know, like Turks and Caicos or something like that. And my son-in-law, being the jokester he is, well, let's go to Laughlin, you know. I'm like, yeah, right. You'll think Laughlin. But he's a good man. They really take care of those girls. Those girls are in piano, they're in karate, they're in, one of them plays the viola and is on the top team at the school. The little one plays the guitar. I mean, they got more talent in their fingers than I have in every part of my body. And they're both on, you know, they're both straight A students. It's amazing.
Proud grandparent, grandfather, huh?
I have a shirt. I have 2 titles, veteran and grandpa, and I rock them both. And I wear it. They bought it for me, and I wear it everywhere. I can't wear it, you know, all the time because people would say, "Geez, don't you ever change your shirt?" But it's a neat one.
Well, as we've had time now to chew on it over the years, what is your thought of the Vietnam War? What was your thought then, and as you've had time to, we've learned the history and behind the scenes and everything about it. What is your thought about the Vietnam War now?
Well, I guess at the time I thought, like I said earlier, that we were doing, you know, what our country asked of us to prevent communism. And now as I look back on it, I say, wow, we didn't accomplish anything except lose 58,490 men and women that should never have happened. And so I just wish we hadn't have done it, but it's a moot point because it's over. Yeah. But it really doesn't. I just like Afghanistan, I don't know.
Do you see parallels between?
I do, because we are not gaining anything. Let them go. I mean, take the first Desert Storm, Schwarzkopf. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he didn't lose. The only way we lost is that missile came and that thing shot it down and hit the barracks and killed the men and women. That's the only. The rest of the time, they went in and took control. They got, and if Bush would have let them, they would have gone through. He was that good of that. Those guys learned in Vietnam. They were there for a specific reason. Go in, get it back, and leave. And I wished all our guys today were like that. I wished our our presidents or whoever, if they're going to send you off, give them a mission. Go take it and get back.
Yeah.
None of this BS of we're going to patrol there for 40 years. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we're not the policemen of the world. We're just keep our troops here. If you're so mad about the border, put troops on the border then. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
Don't get us in more wars.
Yeah.
War accomplishes nothing.
Well, Pete, as we start to wind down this interview, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about? Any stories that floated to the top that you wanted to talk about? Or I know we only probably got the tip of the iceberg of your story, or do you think by and large we captured a good chunk of what you wanted to?
You know, I captured what you had sent me, kind
Yeah.
of what you were going to ask and stuff. And as you know, that one that I did for Fort Lewis, it was so much more detailed because she just asking so many questions so quick. It was tough answering them like the way she. But yeah, I think we covered just about whatever you were going to ask and what you had sent me. And I mean, I don't really like to talk too much about Vietnam, so I think you asked just the right amount of things. She asked a few things when there, and I told her I refused to answer them. Like, you know, and so yeah, I think you asked. I think we did well.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the last question I always like to ask in these interviews, as you look back on your time, particularly in Vietnam, how did it change your life, affect your life, play a role in your life, or was it simply just a chapter in your life that you went through? How would you answer
All
that?
four.
Oh, okay. All right.
It changed my life. It affected my life, and I mean, it was an experience. The whole service was an experience. Vietnam was, you're not ready for it. I mean, you see what they do to people, and you say, what kind of people are these? And 6 months later, you're the same, because they do something to your men, and then you want to retaliate, and so you're like, wow. 6 months ago, I was like, what kind of people are we fighting? And 6 months later, I'm no different.
Wow. Wow.
So that's the effect it had.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as, you know, I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me going in, because I don't know if I'd have been, what I'd have been in Durango if I'd have stayed there. I'm a fighter, you know, so yeah, it did wonders for me to have the respect and integrity and whatever to be, you know, and to take responsibility for raising my daughter and trying to be a good husband and whatever, you know, just it's a tough situation.
Wow. Wow. Well, Pete, I want to thank you for sitting down today to tell your story, but more importantly, I want to thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me the time to tell my story. It's awesome.
As we wound down this interview and shut off, we got talking off the camera, and you had some pretty extensive community activities and involvement. Talk a little about that we completely missed in the initial interview.
Well, I joined the VFW when I got back. Probably I'm a life member. And then I joined the Elks Club, and I was going through the chairs at the Elks Club. And one evening, I went to the VFW, and the Sheriff's Department was going to come down and talk to us. And the commander there was bombed, and he reached for his suitcase, and it fell. And I decided I was going to show him that, you know, the VFW wasn't just drinking, that we really were community-minded. And so I ran against him on the next one and just completely was able to do it. And we did so much for the community, and we gave out scholarships to young ladies and we did so much that the guys came down from Denver, and out of, I don't know, that club was put together way back in, I'd say 43, 44, and no one had ever won a white hat, which is the top of the top there. I think they give out 3 in the state, and I was able to obtain that white hat because they came down from Denver, and they had seen what we had been accomplishing, And then right after that, I became the commander of the District 8, which was, or District 12, I'm sorry, and it was 8 posts. So I was the commander of all those posts, so I had to go to different posts. And they took me and my wife down to Hesperus and my daughter, and we had, they wined and dined and had a big meal for us at the VFW. There was really something. It was nice. And then, yeah, I did, I tried to do as much for the community of Durango as I could possibly do. In
Sir,
fact,
a lot of boards and such, right?
yes, I was on like the community corrections, community hospital. I was on so many boards and commissions at one time. It was amazing. I was like, geez, I don't have time for anything anymore. But I would say that a lot of those boards were community minded, you know. So I was able to help, and we did some good things. The liquor board, the Durango Liquor Licensing Authority, I was on that board, and we got sued, and I had done everything right as being the chairman. That I went to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and they were trying to get a liquor license at a gas station, and they sided with me because everything went the way it was, you know. And so it was nice to know that I could get on one of those things and do something right, you know. So that was nice.
And as well, you talked about being practically adopted by the reservation you worked on, and talk a little bit about that organization.
Oh, the Southern Ute Tribe, they're quite they do a lot for the community, but they go all over the place trying to help out, you know, and stuff. And as I worked with them, I think I became either the first or second person that they ever put in, what would you call it, honorary member of their tribe under Southern Youth Veterans Association. And to this day, they have this annual meeting in Denver, the UVC, United Veterans Council, and the governor and the senators, and they all show up there. And they come by our table, and we get to take pictures with them, and they try to get us to vote for them, more or less, you know. So, but yeah, the tribe does. They're really nice to my wife and I. They kind of like adopted us, you know. It's in fact, when they come up, they come and do different things in the area, and they call us. Hey, we're having a basketball game. Ignacio's playing. And we show up, and you know, it's so I've asked them to, like I was telling you, we were going to have a Vietnam veteran Durango High School first annual reunion, and I've asked them to be the color guard and the honor guard, and they said they would love nothing more than to do that.
That's wonderful. Good. Well, I'm glad it was important to get this aspect of your life down. So. Yeah. Once again, thank you.
Thank you. These were most of the places I was stationed at, because we were all around support. So Dak To, Pleiku, Cu Chi, Tay Ninh, Phu Loi, Saigon, Mekong Delta, the Iron Triangle, and the Black Virgin Mountains. All are there.
Wow. So a unique perspective. Then you guys saw a lot of the country. You weren't in just one area. Like,
oh no, we were all around support. So we
wow.
were, like I stated earlier, we were just about everywhere in the South.
Yeah. Wow.
Probably heading out for recon. About the 5th month I was there, so someone stopped me and shot a picture of me, and I'm pretty young then, as you can tell. We were heading out on patrol next day, and you can see the concern on most of the guys wondering, okay, I think probably thinking, which one of us is not going to make it back, or whatever. So you can see the little concern in some of the faces there. We were cleaning the 155 self-propelled in Vietnam. I was picked up by the 155, so I helped him clean it. And that's Sergeant Steech, Sergeant Musgrove, and myself. Members of my recon troop. and we were probably heading out again for a recon, and someone snapped pictures, and we were just, or maybe we had come back in, I'm not quite sure what it was, but that's the guys. The Southern Youth Veterans, Howard Richard, the commander, last year when we went to the UVC, he said he wanted to do something special for me. So we had one of the Lansing brothers, who are very great artists out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, took an eagle feather and he did all the painting on that with his hand to make it a wow. That picture is the Southern Ute veterans. We were down in Grand Junction, and we had a big project that they were working on to help the people down there. So we all went down there to do it, and that's when I was training with the SWAT team in Durango. We take a picture every year when we go to the UVC, and it says there's all the guys that we go with, and they always have the American Eagle there, and he comes in flying, and so we take the picture with that eagle.
Oh, very cool.
And this is the national award I won with Prudential. It was a $10,000 award that was quite to win. It was pretty significant. Wow.